So I've been wanting to try out a new art supply, and I came across these, the Caran Neo Color Wax Pastels, or in other words, artist crayons. So hi everyone, I'm Ward and welcome to my channel Ward Draws a Lot, and this week we're going to play around a little bit with these Neo colors and see how they fare with me. I got this pack off of Amazon. It is the 30 color sets. There's different sets with different amounts in them. This one retailed for $42, which is pretty expensive for 30 colors, but they're higher quality, so they should be worth the price. The main component of the package is this red metal tin, which feels really nice, I'm not gonna lie. States that it was made in Switzerland since 1915. The sleeve on it actually has a swatch card part inside of it, and on the back also explains what the Neo colors are, how they're water-soluble wax pastels, they're good for wet or dry application, can be on different surfaces, and all that other stuff. The sleeve also has like the actual size of the crayon like printed on the back, along with a little swatch of the colors. The actual swatch sheet itself looks like it's on heavy cardstock as well, so it's pretty reliable in my opinion. Now at this point, I've read all this stuff, but I really want to see what the crayons look like, obviously, and upon opening it looks super pretty, and I already am like wowed by it. There was this little card on the inside that said a creative class by Caran. It has little drawings on the front using the products, and it also states that you can go online to their creative class and look up different kind of free classes on how to like express yourself and use the art tools, and I thought that was cute. There's also these two little stickers, which I'll put somewhere in the sketchbook that I have and, you know, get to use them, but I thought that it was a cute little extra that they threw in. And of course, let's take a little closer look at the crayons. They're of course laid out beautifully, but I want to take a look even closer at the individual crayon and see what we got going on here. I picked up the white crayon because I thought that would be the easiest to see. The paper wrapped around the crayon is easily removable for, I guess, ease of access. Says Caran on it that it's a Neo Color water-soluble wax pencil. It also has the little symbol on the paper itself of the brush and water, which means that you can use it basically as a pseudo watercolor on your artwork. Of course, it has the color name on it, and it also has the individual barcodes on each one, which signals to me that if you were in an art store, you could buy the crayons, I guess, individually instead of having to rebuy the whole pack, which is good because the whole pack is expensive. It feels pretty sturdy in my hand, and honestly, I hope I don't break them along the way because I have some pretty heavy hands, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but I think it's gonna go well. I decided to take advantage of the fact that they did give us this cardstock that's already neatly kind of aligned up, has all the color names on there, just so I could go ahead and swatch them. The swatch sheet is in the same order as the crayons, so you don't have to worry about lining them up. You could just go down along the way and kind of, you know, keep it going. There's like a nice little flow that it had going on here. Also, rest in peace, these swatches. I can't color inside the lines to save my life, so good enough for me. One thing I did notice though, like upon using them, the very first thing that I noticed was how soft and smooth they go down. It is a little bit of a blunt end, you know, because it's pretty dull, and I don't know how to sharpen them, I'm going to be honest with you, so I'm going to have to figure that out. But they were super smooth to use, and I think only one color that I really used, which was the brown, was a little crumbly in comparison to the other ones. I figure that's just the formula, and some colors are harder to make than others, which means that some will be smoother than others, but all have the same blendability. They're honestly pretty good with that. Of course, after I swatched them down, I had to actually test how they blended together. So I took the light colors in the first go around, which was the yellow, orange, and red, like a basic sunset color, and kind of went back and forth and blended them together. One of the first things I immediately noticed when I was blending them together was how smoothly they went down on the paper and how nicely they blended into each other. I didn't have to put in a lot of effort to make beautiful gradients, and it wasn't hard at all to achieve a nice blended look, which is something that I've been looking for a very long time, especially because I like using crayons, but using Crayolas for the rest of my life is not the wave. It's not going to work. I did at this point, after blending them together, test to see how they work when it comes to the water part of it all, because they are water soluble and they can turn into the pseudo watercolor. But I stink with watercolors. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm booty butt cheeks with them. So so I decided to leave that for the people who know how to use watercolors. I'm just gonna go in with them as they are and kind of use them on the drawing that I did in advance and see how I can, I guess, play around with them. This is, of course, what I did a few days earlier before this. I really love this sketch. I think he's like super cute, bro. Like, he's adorable. I also saved that sketch for later. I might take it into digital and kind of, you know, play around with it and see what I can do. But for now, we'll come back to what I feel about the crayons. So I spent a good amount of time with these wax pastels. I even took them into a different sketchbook. Why? Because this is a mixed media sketchbook, so it should hold on to the wax a little bit better than my other sketchbook, which is a marker sketchbook. So I don't know how they would fare there. I really wanted to give them a good chance, so I took them into an environment where they would thrive instead of die. There are, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of great points about these crayons, or wax pastels if you want to be fancy. Anything wax is just a crayon, bro. But realistically, the thing that I really love the most about these is just how wonderfully they blend together and the feel of the actual crayon itself. There's something so satisfying about using crayons to me that just feel right every time I hold one, which is why I even went ahead and bought these. I really have been wanting a crayon alternative because I just like the feeling of using them. There's something very homey about them, and it probably, you know, reaches back to like childhood when you're a kid using crayons and you're like, oh man, I'm having the best time of my life using this $1 pack of crayons coloring in something out of the lines. But it's like, it's a beautiful feeling, and that's kind of what I felt here. Like, it was very relaxing and nice and very easy to work with. They honestly felt like super smooth. I didn't have any troubles with them at all. They actually layered very beautifully. So if I made a mistake, I would just go back in with the previous color, layer something down, and then just go back over it again with another color, and it was just easy to do. And I'm somebody who layers like a lot, like probably an unnecessary amount. Like, I overdo it a lot of the time, and it's something I have to work on. But I felt like even though I did layer it a lot, it went pretty well, and I didn't have to worry too much about that. I'm wondering if mixed media paper is the best option for these. I looked it up on like on Google or on Reddit, wherever I could find something, and a lot of people were saying to use vellum paper, which is like a more toothy, fancy paper. But I didn't want to use up my good paper, which is the vellum paper, before I like got a good grip on how these worked. So I just went ahead in with the mixed media paper because, you know, it's mixed media. It should be a good even ground for anything and everything. I do feel like if you're going to use like a crayon medium, unless you know how to sharpen them, which I don't, I suggest doing a drawing that's a little bit bigger. In this case, I did this sketch on a 9x12 sketchbook, so it's a pretty large drawing, I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to get used to the smaller drawings, like in my own sketchbook, because it's, I think, 8x8. So this one, you would definitely have to scale a little bit larger, and the reason I'm saying that is because the tips of the crayons are not very pointy, and they get very dull very quickly. So drawing in a small space might be a little aggravating over time, at least for me it would be, because I'd constantly be like, oh man, these aren't sharp enough to get really small, tiny details. So I made sure to accommodate for my own style towards that. So like I know if I'm drawing something too small and I'm using these that have like no point to them, it's gonna be a hard time. So I decided to give myself enough space and make sure I kind of, give myself some breathing room as I'm using these, and especially because I'm going to be blending a lot back and forth. I don't like to trap myself in a little box when I'm trying something new. I always like to give myself the best opportunity I can to use the supply, and I like to always try and give the supply the best chance I can. So I don't give like a bad review on something or tell somebody, oh, this thing sucks, when it doesn't and I just used it incorrectly. But for the most part, I think that this large drawing really worked well with these crayons. I just had a brain blast to when I was a kid of like the 96 pack of Crayola crayons and how they had a built-in sharpener inside the box. So there are definitely sharpeners for crayons. It's just that, again, it's gonna go down really quick, especially with how soft these like pastels are. They're just gonna wear down like crazy. So I really suggest working in a certain way so you don't have to constantly think about going back in and sharpening them or making the tip a certain way, because it's just going to be a headache after a while. I don't mind using the blunt ends. I always tell myself, like, I know what I'm getting into whenever I'm using like a certain kind of like product. I do my research beforehand and I know, hey, this is going to do this and it's going to react a certain way. So I don't mind that it does go down a lot, which is why I even drew so largely in the first place, to kind of help myself out in that matter. Overall, the blending, like I said earlier, fantastic, very smooth, very rich in color. The colors are very vibrant, very bright. They feel like really cool when you're looking at them and like you're seeing it on the page. Oh, and one thing that I did notice is that you can kind of blend them with your finger, but it doesn't do the best job on Earth, but, it does something. So that's for somebody who would probably want to know that, because I like blending things with my fingers if I can. Some negatives about these is, well, the biggest one, honestly, is the price. 30 crayons for like $42, and that was the $42 on sale. I think it's normally like 50 something, which is a lot, man. It's a lot, but all traditional art supplies are gonna run your pockets. They're gonna stick you up on the corner. I think like put your hands up, and then the art supply is gonna take the money right out of your pocket. This is just like how the game is. If you get into traditional art, this is what's gonna happen. So that's just based on your budget. There are smaller packs, I think like a 10 or 12 pack, and that goes up to like, I think $17, $18, $20, something like that. So it's more reachable, but you're working with way less colors, so you're just gonna have to be a little bit better with blending things together. I got the 30 pack because I was like, it's a little bit more than, like a really small basic pack, but it's not too much, so I'm not investing $1 billion into something that I'm probably gonna end up forgetting to use or not end up liking, or etc, etc. Of course, another thing that was right off the bat is how crumbly they can get and how they can go around your piece, and how they can leave little stains, so just be careful with that. I know that bothers some people, but for me, again, I know what I got into, so I don't mind it. The crumbles are, not a big deal to me. Another thing we have is that these do smudge, so you just have to be careful. I do wear my gloves whenever I draw, I think basically everything, so that really helps not have me rub my hands all over the page and get everything everywhere. So I would suggest maybe doing something like that, or keeping a paper under your hand, so this way you're not like moving everything all over the paper. To me, most of the things besides the price are just little things that you get used to after using the product a few times and getting a feel for them. So to me, they're not that much of a negative. After a while of blending it together and spending some time with these crayons, I really can say that I enjoy them a lot. I think that the look they give is so light and airy. I love it like a lot. It just looks like, it almost looks painterly to me, like I did a painting on a page, but it's, obviously not, because it's water-soluble wax crayons or pastels, whatever we want to call them. But honestly, I think that the look is so cool, and I really want to dive more into these and use them more often because of just the look that they give. It makes me feel like I did a painting without having to do, you know, the painting. It's just a painting with me. I need to practice way more, and I've been thinking about it recently about doing some more paintings because I've been getting the itch again, and since learning some new stuff since the last time I tried painting, I feel like now I can kind of get into it more. But besides that point, I really love how this looks. It's super soft, and oh man, it feels like it's like floating off of the page almost. I don't even know how to describe it, but it looks so cool. And I can't wait to use these more because they just look so awesome, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember, I love you. Bye!